Hey there, hello there from Area 51 Raceway. And today we're going to talk about the Scaleauto Porsche. I believe this is the 963 GT hypercar. Really cool looking car, very beautiful. Scaleauto just released these and I was able to get one. And again, a really nice car, and it's really, it's just a gorgeous looking car. Of course, you have the chassis here, very sophisticated chassis. As you can see, I was starting to tune it a little, and ran into a few problems. So one of the problems I ran into, and this again is not to bash Scaleauto whatsoever, it's just a problem I ran into. When I put the car on the track, about second or third, maybe about 5 laps, the car started slowing down, and then it was just the motor spinning. Well, what we ran into is the classic cracked pinion gear. So as you can see, I could just push that on and pull it off with my finger, which shouldn't be doing that. And that's what happened to this crack. This is a 13 tooth, 7.5 millimeter pinion gear for angle winder. So it's a rather large gigantor gear. So it's something that if you need to replace, there's a few things you need to know about. So this gear is currently available at Scaleauto or Slot Car 132, excuse me, and they do have a version of metal, which is one that you actually put on here, and it has a set screw that holds it in. It's like an aluminum little it sits on aluminum like Boss, and then you put it on there and you tighten it up with a set screw, or you could get the plastic one again and press it on. So there's your two options. Now, one thing I want everybody to understand: when you are running into that problem, you're going to find out that the original grub screws that come to hold the wheel are the wrench size is a 0.95 millimeter. Now, I looked that up, and the only one that I see that has it is Slot Car 132. And the tool is $20 for just that wrench. Now, this is, again, I'm not bashing Scaleauto, but the Spanish love to use a lot of different wrenches, a lot of different things for their chassis. So, for example, what I have here is the 1.5 millimeter, what we generally use on Revo slots. So we'll probably have this if you're a guy that has Revo slots. And this is where, for the guide screw, is 1.5. And then we're going to go into the 1.3, which is the gear size for the crown gear. So that fits there fine. So that'll work. And then you're going to have the 0.9, which will fit the purple axle stopper on the opposite side of the spur gear, so that's fine. The problem we run into is when you try and take the wheels off, these are not going to work. The 0.9, it's too small, and nor the 1.3, which is too big. And this is where you need the 1.9, or the 0.95, which is a very particular different tool for this car, specific for Scaleauto. So if you're going to get involved in Scaleautos more, you're going to have to order that tool, which is $20. I personally, this is the first Scaleauto car I own. Real nice car. I didn't really get to do much because of the cracked pinion gear. No big deal, that happens. But what I'm finding is it's getting a little bit hard to find, the part for it at different vendors. Only one vendor has it, and that's pretty much Slot Car 132. I know other places they're out of stock, or they just don't have it, or they just haven't gotten them in. But again, you're going to need these as well, a flat and a cross tip, because the pod is a flat tip. And then, of course, on here, the other side of the pod, they put a cross tip. So on their little suspension, they have a flat, and then they have a cross tip here, which, it's one of those things that, well, you're going to need a lot of tools for this chassis. And you're going to need one specialty tool if you plan on getting into Scaleautos. But you can alleviate that by doing this, and this is what I had to do. What I actually had to do, and thank God I didn't put these on too tight, so I don't know how it'll be from car to car. I actually put a 0.9 and was able to kind of angle it and kind of move it, because it wasn't exactly the same size as what is what these were, and it was a little tough, but I was able to get them out without, you know, stripping the heads out, just kind of tilting it and just kind of moving it, and I was able to get it unscrewed. So what I've done was I've replaced them with the M2 2x2 grub screws, or excuse me, the 2x5 grub screws, and these will fit into these wheels, these Scaleauto wheels fine, and this way you could use a 0.9 wrench to remove them. And I highly recommend when you do that, you get some the car, if you ever run into where you had to do maintenance or take the wheels off, that you get the slot car corner M2 2.5 by 2.5. 2.2 maybe a little bit would work too, but I thought it'd be there pretty far in, but this sits on there pretty flush, and that's why I went with 2.5. So you can go with either one, but they do fit in here, and they're a good replacement for those really funky sized 0.095. So if you don't want to spend $20 on a hex wrench for this, and I've looked on Amazon and different places, I couldn't find anything, but Scaleauto does make a tool, and Slot Car 132 has it. So if you do want to buy that wrench, go for it. But if you don't, switch them out to the other grub screws, and you know, put the slot car corner grub screws into the wheels, and you'll be all set. And this way you don't have to worry about having to buy the tool, which I'm sure you could get the grub screws out like I explained it. You'll have to get it in there and kind of angle it at put it at an angle when you're trying to remove them, and try and put a little pressure and take them out. You shouldn't strip them, but if you're not too comfortable with that, then order the tool and do that. But that's just one of the things that I ran into on this car. I haven't been able to tune it, but I'm going to glue these tires on and true these tires on here and stuff like that. Another alternative is if you if you don't want these wheels and you don't have to do this, Slot Car Corner does have the 17 by 10s, which will work, and they make a CB design wheel, so it's a CBD 1300, which is the insert wheels, aluminum wheels, and this way you could get this size and replace these wheels if you want to. And if you wanted to replace the fronts, you could do that as well if you don't want the plastic wheels. So it's a good alternative. This tire fits on here perfectly, and it'll work fine. I just wanted to point some of these things out on this. Now that I have the correct grub screws, I have to order the pinion, and I will get rid of this spring-loaded guide. This I don't really care for either, which is something, you know, it probably works, you know, for the meantime, but I'm going to go with the Slot Invasion one for my wood track and just get rid of the spring. I usually do them to the Revos, but it's up to you what you want to do. You tune for what works for your track, and I just want to go over these few points on this car. Again, excellent car. Just when you run into repairs, you be in mind you're gonna keep in mind you're gonna have to buy a specific wrench for those two grub screws that are on the rear wheels. But there's an alternative. If you could get them out with a 0.9 carefully, you could replace them with the M2 2x2.5 grub screws from Slot Car Corners, or slotted. We'll have them as well. They make the grub screws also. So that's it from Area 51 Raceway. I just wanted to point out these little things, so if you run into where you have to replace your pinion gear like I did, because sometimes it happens, then you could do just that. It'll be no problem. So again, hope this video helps. As always, you take care and have fun racing.